Hey guys, today I'm going to show you how to change your Nissan Sentra 2013 transmission fluid. This works pretty much on any CVT transmission. So before you get started, you want to jack up the car and make sure it's off the ground and it's level. Let me show you how I did it. So on the back wheels here, I decided to put them onto ramps. You don't have to use ramps. You can use normal jack stands, but make sure you're not just using a jack. It's not safe and it could harm you. So anytime you're messing with a jack, make sure you use jack stands as well. And on the back here, since I'm a pretty safe guy, I like to do extra. So I've got 3 jack stands and a jack at the very end. Behind the jacks, I have my jack for backup just in case. So you can never be too safe, guys. So make sure you're using all precautions. And anytime you're using a jack, make sure you're using jack stands. Alright guys, so here we got the front of the engine. I got the hood open. Make sure you secure your hood. So here's the engine, here's the battery. The hole for the transmission where the transmission fluid is going to be poured into is in here. So most CVTs don't actually have a dipstick. Like for example, the oil dipstick here, they don't have a dipstick like that. They cover it up with just a tab. So they don't want you working on it. They want to charge you $200 to $300 to do it themselves. So I'm going to show you how to locate the plug and I'm going to show you how to remove it because it's really hard to remove. So yeah, let me show you. Now before we actually remove and check any transmission fluid, go ahead and turn on your car and let the fluid heat up for about 15 to 20 minutes. We need to let the transmission fluid heat and that way we can check the correct level. Alright guys, so the tab for the transmission fluid is going to be right down here. I'm just showing you where to look for it. So here to my left it's going to be the motor and to my right here is the battery. So it's going to be down here and I'm going to go ahead and show you how to take that off. All you're going to need is a nice flathead screwdriver. Alright guys, so now you come in here with your flathead and this metal tab here, you're going to push on that with your flathead as hard as you can and you're going to use your other hand to grab onto the tab from the top. So while you're pushing the metal tab with your flathead screwdriver, you're going to wiggle and start pushing up. Make sure you push hard and wiggle hard. Very hard to get that thing out. And there you go, and that's how you get it out. Okay, so before you actually start changing anything, you want to make a reference point as to where the transmission fluid was before, so we know after we change it where the level should be. So the way you do that is, so get your oil dipstick from your engine. It has a tab on it, a yellow tab, whatever color yours is. It should say engine oil. Pull that out of the engine, clean it using a lint-free napkin. Make sure you get all that motor oil off of the dipstick because you don't want to be mixing your engine oil with your transmission fluid. So clean it nice and good, and what you're going to do is once you clean it, you're going to come in here, you're going to get it in there. Once you get in there, wiggle it down. You're going to wiggle it all the way in until you touch the bottom. Once you feel it touching the bottom, you're going to pull it out and you're going to make a mental reference or mental note as to where the fluid was. So let me show you where mine is. Okay guys, so from the beginning here, as you can tell, there's the transmission fluid and you just keep going, and you might be hard to see. So my fluid seemed to stop right here, right there. About 3/4 of the way on the oil dipstick. That way when you're finished changing it, you have a reference as to where the oil was. And after you're done checking the transmission fluid and you have a mental note as to where the transmission fluid should be, go ahead and get a blue lint-free towel. You can get these anywhere, Walmart, any auto store has them. Walmart should have them too. And just clean it off. That way you don't mix transmission fluid with your motor oil. So make sure to clean it nice and good and just stick it back inside the engine. All right guys, so before we get started, make sure you have a drain pan to catch all the transmission fluid. Now let me show you exactly where the transmission pan is and where the fluid will be located. So we're under the car here and there's a lot of things down here, so you might get confused as to where the transmission pan is. So if you look to my left, there's the first wheel. To my right, there's the second wheel. You're gonna see 2 pans. There's gonna be a pan there, and in front of it there's gonna be a filter. So to my left there's gonna be a pan. That's gonna be the oil pan. You can tell because there's a filter there. That yellow thing is a filter. So make sure you stay away from the oil pan. And to the right of that is gonna be the transmission fluid pan. This is what we're gonna be draining. Let me show you how it's done. Alright guys, so here's the pan, and right in the beginning of the pan there's this big screw there. You can tell that's the drain bowl because it's bigger than all the other screws around the transmission pan. Come on, pass. So in order to drain this, you're gonna need a 19-inch socket and a ratchet. that fits the 19-inch socket. Yours might be different. Buy yourself a socket pack and play around and see which socket fits on the drain bolt. So what you're gonna do is you're gonna put your socket on there and you're gonna turn and make sure to get it loose. Once it's loose, use your hand and twist on the drain plug by hand. And before you unscrew it, make sure you have a drain pan closed right under the bolt. So you're gonna start unscrewing and you're gonna see some fluid start coming out. Put the drain plug aside and make sure you don't lose it. Now, that's not it. So it's not gonna fully come out. What you're gonna need is one of these. It's called an Allan. So you're gonna need a 5mm of these. So you see where the fluid is coming out? You're gonna stick this in, and once it's nice and stuck, you're gonna twist. Once you break it loose, you just twist it. Once you get that loose, this is what it looks like. Now the transmission fluid should really start coming out. All right, so while you let that completely drain, I'm gonna show you what transmission fluid you're gonna put into your CVT. What I recommend is going to your dealer and buying the fluid straight from them. But I went ahead and went to AutoZone and I bought my own. So here we got Castrol Transmax CVT Smooth Drive. It's a full synthetic formula which enables smoother shift and longer transmission life. It says it's for use in most passenger cars with continuously variable transmission. So the way you check to see if this would be compatible with your transmission, you're gonna turn it around, and on the fine print down here, it's gonna say which cars or which CVTs it's compatible with. So I have a Nissan, it requires NS3, as you can see, Nissan NS3. So this right here, good for my transmission, and it should work for yours if compatible. But make sure you read the back of these and make sure you see if it's compatible with your transmission. But like I said, I recommend you going to your dealer and letting them pick out the transmission fluid for you. So my fluid is basically done. I put it into a drain pan. Make sure to collect it so you can measure it at the end. All right, now the transmission fluid is finished draining. We're gonna get this oil pan now and drain it into the oil container here and see how much came out. So mine already has about 2.5 liters here. I'm gonna pour the transmission fluid in here and see how much I took out. So you don't make a mess, you can buy one of these funnels and stick it right into the oil container, and that way you don't make a big mess. Oh my God. All right guys, so I basically filled up my entire oil container here. We were at 2.5, we came up all the way past the line. So I'm gonna go ahead and put 3.5 quarts into the transmission. All right guys, so now we're gonna install the key we took out of there back into the transmission pan. So before you put it in there, make sure you clean around the transmission pan. You don't want any dirt or debris getting inside of the transmission fluid and contaminating your transmission. So now we're gonna put it in, twist it in there. Next, you're gonna get your Allan and you're gonna screw it back inside. So once it's screwed in, it stops. Give it a little force, not too much. You don't want to over torque this thing. Next, you're gonna get your screw or your plug. Make sure you clean this before putting it inside. Once you've used your hand to screw it in, get your wrench and get it nice and snug. Do not over torque this thing, just nice and snug. Once it's nice and snug, you're finished here. All right guys, next we're gonna go ahead and put in the amount that was taken out from the transmission. So I took out about 3.5, so I'm gonna go ahead and put in 3.5. So make sure you stick the funnel into the hole down there where we took out the tab from and slowly start pouring. Look down and make sure that the transmission fluid is actually getting inside of the tube down there. Now that you're done, you can remove the funnel. Now, before we check this transmission fluid, we need to put the tab back on and let the car run. We want the transmission to heat, and that way we can check the correct fluid amount that we put inside. So get your tab, clean it with a lint-free blue napkin, or whichever napkin you have that's lint-free, and put it back on. When you put it back on, you want to hear a sort of click noise. Now turn on the car. All right, now that you let the car heat, you're gonna go back, same process. You're gonna need the flathead screwdriver to do this. It should come off pretty easily now since you've removed it the first time. Next, get your oil dipstick, clean it real good. You don't wanna be mixing fluids here. We're gonna use the reference from the beginning of the video to make sure we didn't overfill this. So get your oil dipstick, put inside the hole, keep pushing down until you feel it touch the bottom. Once it's touched the bottom, remove it and check it. About 3/4 like the first time. And since it's at the correct level, then we did a good job. Now clean your oil dipstick, grab your transmission cap and replace it. When you replace the transmission cap, you want to hear a snap or a click. Now I want to talk about the color of the transmission fluid. So this transmission hasn't had a transmission fluid change in a very long time. It has about 88,000 miles, and this is the first time someone has done a transmission fluid change. So this is the color of the transmission fluid new from the shop. It should be a pinkish color, and this is the transmission fluid that I took out after 88,000 miles. I don't recommend changing it if it's too dark or if it has sort of a burnt smell or metallic specks in it. Mine was still a little pinkish when I took it out at 88,000 miles. If you're getting to that 100,000 mile range, be sure to check it first and get it tested, because if you do end up changing it and it's very burnt or black, that could cause slipping afterwards, and you don't want that happening. And I just want everyone to know we did a fluid change. That's not going to remove all of the fluid from inside the transmission. So what I recommend is changing the fluid and making sure everything's okay. Then you go drive the car for a couple miles. I recommend for between 50 to 100 miles. Jack the car up again, then change the fluid again. That way we get the transmission and the fluid as clean as possible. And the only way to really remove all the debris and all the fluid inside of your transmission is to do a flush. Those are very expensive and costly, so I just recommend doing it twice. That way we have the cleanest transmission possible. Well, that is how you change transmission fluid on these new CVT models. I hope you enjoyed the video. Please like, subscribe, and comment, and let me know down below on the comment section what else you guys would like me to do on these newer cars.